All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to week 5. We're moving right along in Japanese culture. Now we're in kind of the golden age of Japanese culture, the Heian period. We've talked about some of the history leading up to it, but this is really where Japan, I think, arguably comes into its own as a culture, really. A lot of arts, a lot of literature, the height of architecture. Kyoto becomes the capital. So the lectures really sort of talk about, lay that out, of why Kyoto is so important. It's still important today. I mean, you can go there, you can go to the Imperial Palace. I gave you some photos of that. Some of those are mine that I just went there recently. Still a very great city. And it was the capital of Japan for about 1,000 years. And as I kind of mentioned, right, they sort of modeled that capital after China. So you see a lot of Chinese connections there. Set up state systems, centralized, the sort of Japanese worlds, the different uji and clan all came to Kyoto. You get the imperial family, who then kind of is the head of the ceremonial side of things, particularly Shintoism, which we kind of know about now after last week. Which again, a very good job on your short responses. Good use of the Seoul Japan reading. I think that's a nice little handbook to better understand what Shintoism is. Clear, concise, some main points there. And the imperial family, obviously connections there. But then this sort of political side of these Fujiwara families as well are very important. And sort of Heian history is the emperor Kemu, I think, moves to Kyoto. And then the Fujiwara family sort of takes over, marries their daughters into the imperial line. So again, that's how the line of descent stays. There's an imperial family line, but you can marry into that, and the offspring then you kind of the next emperor will be sort of the combination of those two. The Fujiwara is very good about that. Michinaga is sort of the height of the Heian period. Talked about that, the different phases in the lecture, and then the decline of that as well towards the end, and then the shift from the capital of Kamakura, and sort of they ushered in this sort of feudal period, and that's at a height of this samurai world. So that's kind of the history of it. Then the main thing is the arts. This is, what are these arts? Well, obviously literature is very important. This is kind of the beginning of waka poetry, which becomes very important in Japan. We'll look at that a little bit later. The arts, literature, particularly the tale of Genji. And the Pillow Book, these sort of diaries, these narratives. In fact, a lot of people look at the tale of Genji as one of the first novels in the history of the world, which were written by women within the court, and it shows the transition from Chinese writing to the formation of what is now hiragana and katakana. And these women were writing about the worlds around them. These diaries, what they saw every day, these narratives. So it's really interesting. It gives a very good insight into what the Heian court was like. The lectures talk about the literature. It talks about the formation of kimono, this sort of 12-layer dress, and then you see a lot of pictures of the Heian. They always have white faces, black teeth. That was the fashionable thing to do. But these 12-layer dress then become part of the what will later become the kimono. So you see that forming there. You see arts. These sort of scroll paintings, which we have some of those later on of the Tale of Genji and Tale of Heike as well. And then you have architecture, these sort of new forms of architecture, these more larger villas, open squares, gardens. All of these things are part of this Heian world. The Byoden is very famous. It's on the Japanese currency. Very famous shrine, Buddhist temple, actually built by the Fujiwaras. So that's kind of a little bit about the Heian and why it's important. It's kind of what the quiz asks you to do. So take the quiz. It's open today. You can take it from day till Friday. First few couple questions are pretty easy, just about the lectures. Third one, I want you to pick one of the readings and talk about it. So again, I want you to do one of the readings. I'd like you to do both of them, but I know you guys have time limits. But pick one: Tale of Genji or Tale of Heike. Tale of Genji reading. It's just the one chapter or two chapters. The beginning chapter that kind of tells about the life of Genji, where he's from, and then the chapter Evening Faces, which sort of talks about the story of Genji is very much about his I don't know, his experiences, his life experiences, how he goes around the world, people he meets, or the Kyoto world. This one, he goes out to go visit his friend. He sees this girl. They decide to have a little tryst. And then she dies, which also sort of like within the Heian period, there's a lot of ghosts and a lot of prophecies. So I think one of jealous lover of the ghost spirit of a jealous lover of Genji comes and kills Evening Faces, who again, the story tells us they don't really ever want to tell who each other are because of some past relationships as well. So you get to kind of see how this intrigue works. There's a lot of poetry written back and forth. So it kind of gives you, I like this reading because it gives you a sense of what the Tale of Genji is. It's a very long book. You don't have to read it all, though it's very, very fascinating. But it's very much part of Japanese culture. You'll see this. Genji is all over the Tale of Genji, different episodes. There was just recently a huge TV series about it. So it's very much part of Japanese culture. Then the Tale of Heike is more like the samurai side of things. It talks about the Genpei War. And the first beginning of that is Kiyomori. He's like the bad guy, the head of the, I think he's Taira guy who kind of takes over after the Fujiwaras, right? And then this Minamoto clan, they come in. I think they're the Heike, and they take over. And so it's a story of these two clans fighting over the end of the Heian. But the first couple of chapters talk about Kiyomori and how bad he is. Like the first one's about like his son, grandson, like kind of messes up with some ministers. They put him in his place, and then like they've shamed the family, so then they go attack the ministers. Second one's about Kiyomori's death, which is like this very famous scene that he kind of burns in hell because of all his sins. And then the Ujikawa is a very famous battle scene. Atsumori is a very interesting scene where this older samurai has to kill this younger samurai, and he's sort of regretting it. Sort of the terrors of war. And then the last one here is the death of the young emperor, sort of the end of the war. So, but I think all of them really talk about. I think that one also really gives some ideas of what of this time period of Japan. So, if you're more into like battles and wars, read that one a little bit. If you're more into culture and literature and love, read Tale of Genji. Yeah, but read one of those, and then that'll be the last question on your quiz about that. And again, you can use my lecture notes. All my quizzes are open notes, so the history, sort of the background of these are in the notes. You don't need to use any extra sources. In fact, please don't. Just use the course materials that I provided you in the readings, and then tell me what you think. What did you get out of these readings? How does it relate to Japanese culture? Great. All right, that's it. Have a good day.